Cowboy news. I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys. It's been a while. I did the Sean Merriman and we've just been busy and moving and shaking. But the Cowboys got a new coach. The Cowboys have hired a new coach. Brian Schottenheimer has been named the 10th head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And there's no need for me to beat around the bush. You guys know I'm a straight shooter. I give it to you raw, pause. But I'm going to give it to you straight shooter. And to be honest with you, I did not like the hire. I didn't like it. And the more that we get into this, I kind of still don't like it. Now, I will say, I am willing. I have no choice in the matter. I don't have a choice in the matter in giving him a chance. If I'm going to cover this team and I'm going to cheer for this team, I do have a choice. I don't have to do anything at all. But then that means no Unfiltered. That means no DLS. That means no hanging with the boys. That means no believe the Cowboys. And I got a mortgage that don't stop. So I don't really have a choice but to continue to follow this team and to be patient whatever their decision is. But I did not like the hire. Todd Archer wrote a story today, and it just kind of did the timeline of how it all went down. Let me also say that Mike McCarthy, Michael from Pittsburgh, where that kind of whole thing went left, and I wasn't a proponent of bringing Michael McCarthy back. But Michael wanted a 5-year deal. Jerry and company said, we're going to give you a 3-year deal. They couldn't see and meet in the middle, so they decided to part ways. Then led the approach to getting the new head coach. And, of course, the names that were coming about, they interviewed Robert Saleh, and they interviewed Leslie Frazier, and they interviewed Kellen Moore for 90 minutes. And all of us kind of thought it was Kellen Moore, which I wouldn't have been happy with that either. Maybe I just need to find a place where I can get some happiness at. That's what it sounds like. But during this process, the Cowboys decided that they were going to bring in Brian Schottenheimer to interview for the offensive coordinator position. But once they got him in the room, and oddly enough, the person that was pushing the agenda and the name of Brian Schottenheimer wasn't Steven, wasn't Jerry. It was Jerry Jr. He was the one that said, hold on now. We might want to go outside the box, but we may be missing something here. And he was the one that pushed for Brian Schottenheimer to be interviewed as the head coach. Now, let's take a quick time out from there, because hearing that you were interviewing these other candidates, but you were still looking to bring on Brian Schottenheimer as your offensive coordinator, tells me that the Joneses are hell-bent on them being the one that handpicks staff, which I think totally wrong. I think as a GM, you pick the head coach. The head coach now gets a chance to pick his staff. Maybe you suggest, maybe you nudge a little bit, but ultimately, a head coach should not have to come in and deal with guys that you want in certain places. Don't know those guys, don't have any loyalty to those guys don't know me, don't have any loyalty to me. I want a fresh start. Time back in. After meeting with Brian Schottenheimer for a little bit, they said, hold on now. We may have something. And if you heard anybody talk about Brian Schottenheimer from the inside, they've all kind of said the same thing. Like, this guy is a leader of men, and he could really control a room. He can really get up in front of a room and control a room. I don't know if they said leader of men. I might have made that up. But control the room, definitely. He gets talking to you. He can make you a believer. And they said, okay, let's see what he got. And the more he talked, the more Jerry believed. And the more he talked, and the more he believed. And the more he talked, and the more he believed. And by Friday, they had talked enough, and they had begun to believe enough that this was going to be their 10th head coach in Cowboy history. The agent, Jimmy Sexton, they sat down. They got the parameters and the framework of a 4-year deal and got it done. That's why we got the announcement on Friday night after dinner, 9:30 time, whatever it was. Then you have the press conference. And we all look at the press conference as this is going to be how you win me over, right? We've seen some good ones. We've seen some funny ones. We've seen some outright cringy ones. We've seen the Dan Campbell bite the kneecaps, right? But there was passion about that. We've seen, the others, the Aaron Glenn's. We've seen the Ben Johnsons. We've seen the Duval. We've seen those, and those are cringy. And you may lose some folks from that. But we listen and we don't judge. Well, that's for y'all. I'm judging. I'm Jay Holley judgy. Make no mistake about it. Your boy is judgy. I'm judging. I'm judging you. I'm judging them. Jay Holley is judgy. Y'all judge me. Talk about my hairline. Talk about my one catch wonder. Y'all talk about I didn't get 78 yards. I only got to 77. Y'all judge me. Y'all judge my takes. And guess what? I'm cool. Y'all keep showing up. Keep talking about my hairline. You got to see it, talk about it. I'm with you. I'm judgy. And so I listened and I judged. And I hear things like continuity in change. And I just thought, and I'll even back up. I think about Jerry saying in the media a couple years ago that he would be embarrassed at the size of the check that he would write if it ensured him winning a Super Bowl. You would be shocked and embarrassed or shocked and amazed at the size of the check that he would write if it correlated to him winning the Super Bowl. And you hear that and you have no choice but to judge because he refuses to write the checks that are big enough to go and win a Super Bowl. And then you listen to things and he says it's the biggest risk I've ever taken. His head coach is sitting right there and he's calling his head coach a risk. He's sitting there and they're talking about the little drought. 30 years. It ain't no little drought. It's a damn big drought. And don't do the air quotes for something that is actually factual. Air quotes kind of mean to stand for something that's maybe an assumption or an opinion or, this is a fact. And I listened and I judged. And I listened and I judged. And partly when it comes to Brian Schottenheimer, he has to deal with a little bit of the back taxes of the people that came before him. But he doesn't come with any cachet. He doesn't come with any just solid excitement. Brian Schottenheimer was office coordinator for 14 seasons with 4 different organizations since 2006. His offices have cracked a top 10 in points 5 times. He's ranked number 1 in scoring just once, and that was in 2023. But then I listened, and I listened some more, and then I heard things like, Brian Schottenheimer, he did a really good job at biting his lip, and he had deference for things that he wanted to change or thought would change while under Michael from Pittsburgh. And I thought, he bit his tongue, bit his lip, and wouldn't speak up when he held or presumably or potentially held information that may have helped this team. I'm sorry, but it's just me. If I have something that I know or feel strongly about that will be able to help us win, I'm not biting my lip. I'm not having a level of deference where I just kind of, hey, I bow down to the guy that's in charge. No, I'm the offensive coordinator by design. Like, I'm supposed to be in this whole game planning thing. But then it also made me think some more. Well, why would someone biting their lip and having deference towards the leader be attracting and appealing to the Jones family? That tells me this is a guy that you picked, that when it comes time for you to do the Geppetto thing and to move pieces around, you'll remember and he'll remember how to bite his lip, how to have deference to authority, to the authoritative figure. And to me, that is a design of we're just spinning our wheels. There isn't any really change. The only change is the name. The name goes from Michael from Pittsburgh to Brian Schottenheimer. But the core of it all, when it really matters the most, I don't think that's going to change. Now, I could be 1,000% wrong. And by the way, I hope I am. I keep telling y'all and telling y'all and telling y'all, nobody wants the Cowboys to win more than me. When the Cowboys win, I make more money. I am able to pay my mortgage. I am able to go on vacation. I am able to buy nice dinners. I am able to do things that require X amount of funds. I want the Cowboys to win a lot. You don't think I want the Cowboys to be in the playoffs right now? Of course I do. I get more checks that way. I'm in it for the same reason Jerry's in it. I know that makes some of y'all mad because some of y'all are like really true to heart, to the core. It's a legacy. Y'all been fans for 30 and 40 and 50 years and you really believe in this thing. I get it. Sure. And you're right to have that belief. But I just don't. This hire did nothing to make me believe. And be very careful of this, Cowboy fans. Be very, very, very careful of this. Because whether you want to admit it or not, whether you want to be honest with me or not, whether you want to look yourself in the mirror and say to the person that is staring back at you the truth or not, you're desperate. You are desperate as a fan. That's why the anger, that's why the emotions are spewing out, whether it be social media or in the barbershop talk or in your friend group chat or whatever it is, in the comments. That's why that emotion spews out, because you're desperate. You're desperate and you're yearning for the victories. But be very, very careful as you begin to, and I'm not saying that you're not supposed to be fair, but when you're desperate, you'll find hope in anything. When you're desperate, you'll find life in anything. So when they start signing coaches and signing this and that, you're like, oh yeah, this is going to work and that's going to work. Because you are desperate. This is a desperate fan base. This turned into a very desperate fan base. And so it's like when you're lonely, right? Sometimes you're lonely, you'll go back to the bad dude because it beats being lonely. That's desperation. When you are desperate because you horny, the five at the club, you start saying things like, I mean, she do got cute ears though. I mean, you seen her fingers? I mean, her fingers are beautiful. You be like, and we both like anime. Like you start grasping for straws. When you're desperate, you'll find hope in anything. And I don't want to be unfair, but I also want to be very realistic. I'm not excited. I don't like the hire. And I'm going to give him a chance. But when you start hiring guys from within, there isn't that fear factor. There isn't that fear of when this new guy comes in, he don't know me. So I need to show up. I need to put on my best performance. I need to be at practice. I need to be at OTAs and mini camp. I need to be studying. I need to work out. I need to come in underweight. I need to come in shape. Because the new guy, just by his sheer presence of being new to the surroundings, there is a level of healthy fear. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. So I'm going to go over and give him everything that I got because the potential of me not being here reigns. But when you march Shotty back in the locker room, there is a little bit of, I know him, comfortability. I know they call it continuity or whatever it is you want to describe it as. I just feel like there has to be so much that is done. And I just need, I need a sharper, I need a more innovative, I just need more from my head coach. And the other thing that you have to remember too is I don't look at Brian Schottenheimer as a guy who is a disciplinarian, a guy who commands the room in such a way that guys are afraid to not be on their P's and Q's. And so when you have that happen, you fall back into what it was before. And then you also look up and you go, because players aren't dumb. Players aren't dumb. They know who was the hire, and you still have that factor in where you say, well, Jerry runs this. Like, we know that you don't have the ultimate power. We know the ultimate power still lies in Jerry Jones and in Stephen Jones. So when I got an issue or a problem, I don't really even come talk to you. I come talk to the real man. That creates that disconnect between player and coach, between players in the locker room. And he's going to have to come out the gates. He's assembling his staff. I just heard not too long before I came on that Lunda Wells, the tight end coach, has been retained. But he's putting his defensive staff together. Eberflus is the defensive coordinator, and he's bringing on some guys. Even his defensive coordinator, that was picked by the Joneses. That wasn't a Brian Schottenheimer pick. They have no history. None. Zero. Eberflus was the guy who was here back in 2011. I was with him at that time. Went on to Indianapolis and then, head coach at the Bears. No ties to that. Like, even your defensive coordinators, a little bit, not a little bit, but a pick of someone else that you now have to gel and mend with. And I don't know if his style it's going to be interesting to see, because everyone that I've talked to about what Eberflus likes to do, he's not a guy that wants to move his guys around. He's not a guy that sends blitzes. He is very, very based, very vision defense. Keep everything in front of you, see it. We're going to see how that relationship works out with number 11. And I say that for the head coach because be ready to be crisis management. There's a lot that comes into the head coach position. I honestly, not to be negative, but I do hope he is successful. I don't believe ultimately he will be. And when I mean successful, I mean NFC Championship, Super Bowl. Like, that's success. Doing 12-5 again or 13-3, been there, done that. Getting out you get a one playoff one every now and again, cool. But, getting out a wild card weekend, cool. Getting somewhere that's significant, that to me is success. I'm done. I've been done with the regular season mumbo jumbo for a while. Okay, I've seen 13-3. I've seen 12-5 3 times. I've seen it all. I've seen it. Remember when Smokey was, when Felicia came, he was like, man, bye, Felicia. Just move. Go ahead. I'm done with the regular season. Success means you go deep into the playoff and you break that 30-year curse or drought of not making the NFC Championship game. But we shall see what old Shotty can do. I do hope, and I guess I have to take a man for his word, even though their words have not been solid man conversation words. But Stephen Jones have said it on multiple occasions in the last couple of days that he understands that he now has to move differently in free agency. What does that mean? I'm not trying to decipher that. I'm just not. We spent the whole year trying to decipher all in and what that meant. Because we heard all in and we like, bet, let's go. So when I hear someone says, I know that we have to do different and we're going to move different in free agency, show me. I'm from Missouri. Got to show me. I'm from Jersey, but you get the same. Got to show me. You can't sit there and tell me in press conferences and try to sell me a hill of beans. Don't pee in my eye and tell me it's raining. Show me. Put your money literally where your mouth is. And I'll believe. And it's the only way that he's going to have success. It's the only way he's going to have success. I don't think he's X and O savvy enough. I don't think we have the competitive advantage under the headset with Brian Schottenheimer. It's going to take the current group that we have, even if all healthy and Dak is healthy and as currently constructed, if we did not make one change, I don't think he gets this team to the playoffs. So unless you get him some more dogs, some real players in free agency, and draft your butt off, we'll be sitting back here next year saying, get rid of him. That's just where I feel.